Hey, 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 how's it going? Lag Monster here, bringing you another dose of creative inspiration with our first ever Decoration Station, a tutorial series where I show you how to spice up your builds through the magic of storytelling. And to kick things off, we're going to start with a subject near and dear to all our hearts: villagers. Specifically, this guy, the butcher. Minecraft doesn't really provide much in the way of equipment for our villagers to work with, so let's fix that, shall we? One of the first things any good butcher's going to need is a place to humanely store the animals he's later going to, unalive. To start off with, here I've made a few very simple small animal cages for, rabbits, chickens, whatever small animals you want to keep in them. To create this handle, you just put an armor stand on the inside. Really easy. You can just lift the top one up. You can just place it right in. And, well, that's it. You could also place the armor stand on top and then open the trapdoor and it'll drop inside. And that rabbit has escaped. Alright, to make these handles, it's really simple. You're just going to put down your trapdoors like so. And make your little cage. And then you can put your other trapdoor on top. Just like that. And you can do it one of two ways. You can, you can set it up here and you can open it. And that'll drop it in. Just like that. Or, really, you can just do that. Just do that. The nice thing about armor stands, you can add a little variety. You put it on an angle. There you go. Look at that. Even that little change, I think, makes a big difference. Moving on to larger animal pens. Here we have one for our pigs. He looks pretty comfy and cozy in there. Again, pretty much just trapdoors. I did put planks on the bottom here to make the floor of it. Pretty much the same design here, but a bit larger for the cow. We threw some hay in there to make him comfy and give him something to eat. And then here we have one that's a little bit different. This would be more for like maybe an outdoor setup or maybe something that has a lean-to or something over it. And if you put a cauldron or a composter in between the fencing here, you get this nice effect where it looks like a water or a food trough that's kind of split between the two stalls. It's pretty neat. I threw some gates in here as well to make it look a little more open, like the cows could get in there and eat or drink or whatever. With the demands of a hungry and growing village to worry about, our butcher will certainly need ways to make his job easier. Here, I have a variety of machines to speed up his work. Starting off here, I have a small, table saw kind of thing. He could, turn it on, feed the meat through here, and pull it out the back side. This one's really compact and would fit into most small builds pretty easily. Next up, I have this bandsaw kind of setup. This bar, if you could imagine, would be like a band running through, like a real-life bandsaw. And then our meat
can be put
through here and chop it up into pieces. Just a pro tip, guys, add some buttons and redstone dots to look like blood or chunks of meat. Next up here, I have more of like a belt-driven kind of saw setup. As you can see here, I've taken advantage of the new piglin head to make it look like we're butchering some kind of meat. And it's actually really easy to get it to sit on the slab like that. I will show you. Okay guys, to do this, it's very simple. We're just going to place down our armor stand just like so. And we're going to put our piglin head on it. Then we're going to take and put our slab right where we need to be. It's a bottom slab, so we need to put it on the bottom side of the block. Then we need to piston it down. So we're just going to put a piston up here just like so. And then push it down. Just like that. Next up, I have this slightly different version of the same one. Here, I've used the piglin heads to make a whole pig. I've used the same exact technique. The only difference is that I have 3 different armor stands down here. One is for the face, the rest are for the body. If we look around the back, we're actually hiding the snouts. That's why this one's against a wall. Okay, guys, let's make a pig. First, we're going to start with an armor stand right here. Then we're going to start with another one here and here, but we're going to face them backwards. Like that. Now we're going to put our heads on there. Boom, boom, boom. These are going to be the body of our pig, and this is going to be the head of our pig. And we actually need to kind of squish it all together. We're going to take our piston, and we're going to put it here. We're going to put a fence gate on the front of this one. There we go. And then we're going to put the piston on this side, and we're going to put a bar on this one. And that gets us our perfect little piggy body. This actually is a little better than the one I have on display. You avoid that nasty Z fighting. It looks a lot better. To get the belt back on top is really easy too. You're just going to take and put your slabs right there. You'll take and put your piston over top and then push them down. There it is. Easy peasy, guys. Beautiful. I've also taken advantage of, again, the buttons and the redstone to make some blood and meat, but I've also used some redstone ore back here on this stone wall to make it look like there's splatter on the wall from this saw. So, you know, use that silk touch, guys. Save those ores. And next up, we have the coup de grace, the Butchinator. I don't know what we call this, but it is a monstrosity, to say the least. This is more of like an industrial kind of setup, if you will. We have like a washer in here that washes the animal off as it comes down the conveyor belt. Then the animal will go through into our butchering chain. Again, I've taken advantage of using the ores. So I've used some redstone deep slate ore, some redstone stone ore to look like the splatter coming off the machine. I've even made a banner here that looks bloody as like the kind of flaps that enter into the machine. I've tried to really sell as much of this as I can. Being the seasoned professional that he is, the butcher's going to need a place to hang his products to preserve all that good meaty flavor. So to start off, I've made this kind of post type thing for hanging the meats. Similarly, I have used redstone bits for decoration, buttons for decoration. I have this drainage pit here, and I've used netherwort blocks to kind of look like blood and viscera has drained down there. And here we have I think this is weeping vine. Yeah, weeping vine that I've used to kind of look like maybe some guts or sinew hanging down. Yeah, graphic. This piece of meat, I decided to go with the quartz ore from the nether, because the netherrack kind of looks like meat, and these look like maybe bits of bone or something in the meat. We have our drainage below, and then this one I've made a table. You know, you can work at it and chop, do your thing. This one's a slightly more advanced version of the one we just saw. We still have the meat hanging from the ceiling. We have our drainage and all that. We've used similar tricks to make some splatter and things. Ooh, that's wrong. Fix that. One thing that is different on this one is we've used the armor stand trick to piston the walls and the trapdoors over it to make this table that we can still set things on, like the piece of meat that we've clearly cut in half, or in this case, the sword as the knife and the piece of meat that maybe we've sliced off this larger piece of meat here. I am using invisible item frames here, which I know you can't get those in survival, but you can get them using this command that I'm going to pop them on the screen right there. There it is. Yeah, that one. And you could always use a regular item frame if you want. It would just kind of look like a cutting board. There you go. And lastly, I have this one that would be like more of an outdoor structure. This is kind of like a meat curing shack. We have our drainage. We have, again, some bits of detail. We have some chains that are left empty as if we could hang more meat in here. And I've used a variety of different things to show the meat. I've got these netherwort blocks. I've got the mangrove. And then I've got, again, our piece of, quartz ore. This one I could actually see being used before the machinery, maybe as a place to hang carcasses and drain them before the actual butchering process. Down here, I just have a variety of different ways to show how you can hang the meats. We have them hanging from a ceiling here, kind of like we showed before, using various bits of redstone and buttons to make it look like bits of blood and splatter and meat are scattered around. And then just a variety of different types of meat hanging from this simple rack that I've made out of trapdoors and chains. Now this one here, this one is, in my opinion, the coolest looking one, because you have this nice string here, looking like it's holding the meats up. This one I've used the armor stand trick to piston the block down over the armor stand, make it kind of look like a hook that's hanging on the wire. And this isn't that hard to accomplish, really. You just need a chicken. Now you'll note I have this chicken on 7 layers of snow just to get the right height to kind of look like it's tied off on this hook on the other side. You do not necessarily have to do that. You could go without the hook. You could put a different block here. I just thought it looked better that way, personally. You could just set the chicken on a block and the wire will just sit up a little bit higher. Either way, a really neat trick, and I'm sure you could find a variety of uses for this trick right here. Next up, let's talk cooking and smoking. The butcher surely would like to offer cured and smoked meats, so let's make sure he has the right tools to do the job. You can use an extinguished campfire like this to make what looks like a drying or smoking rack. For those that aren't aware, you can just put the fire out with a shovel, a splash water bottle potion. I think you can also just put water on it and it'll also put it out. And then you can put your meat on there still even after you have put it out. Next up, we have this very simple roasting spit. It's just a campfire underneath. We're using armor stands in the sides to hold up the spit, and the spit is just these copper rods. Very easy to put those in. You're just going to use the piston trick we used earlier. You put them in the block above, you use the piston to push it down. Very, very easy. Here's a slightly more ornate version of that. I've used slabs to raise the floor up by a half block. We have our fires raised up here with our meat smoking above it or cooking above it. Of course, we have our rods here as our spit. I've pistoned these stairs down on top of these armor stands to look like it's the whole apparatus being held up. Pretty cool. Here I have a nice little outside smoker. Inside here we've used an actual smoker block with the campfire underneath to give it the nice smoke effect. I've used a couple invisible item frames here. We've got some tongs for when the meat's ready. Looks like it's almost done. Then of course our smoke comes out the chimney up top, and we have a couple barrels around for some storage just to make it look pretty. And then lastly, we have a nice little smokehouse here. Beside it, we have the chamber to build our fire. Some extra wood, of course, so we can chop up some more wood for that fire. And then inside, we have our nice little smoking chamber. We have a couple meats hanging in here, smoking and curing up. We have a bunch on our racks, smoking and curing up. And then we have a couple over here on this table as well. These are sausage links. You certainly don't have to use these custom heads, but I thought they really added to the effect. So for those of you that have the ability, consider adding them. They really add to it. Our butcher's going to need to store his products and supplies in his workshop to keep things fresh to go to market. I've made a few different options for him. Let's take a look. Firstly, to keep the meat fresh, I've made a couple of ice houses. In here, we have a very small one. We just have a couple of racks set up and things to keep it nice and cold. I've used some ice blocks here to make it look like the floor is slick. Maybe this is some stuff in a bag, bagged up, you know, just keeping everything cold, keeping it nice and cold. This is kind of built into a hill too, or could be, to make it look like, you know, it's kind of semi-underground, keeps it nice and cool in there. Similar design here, but on a bigger scale. This is also built into a hill. If we go inside, we can see that we have a little more room in this one. We have some icicles hanging from the ceiling. And I've used snow layers to add like frost, as if it's very, very cold in here. I've used the pig trick back here to make us a nice pig that is being stored. We have a bunch of meats hanging, some stuff bagged, a bunch of different stuff. Here again, I've used the piston trick to push the ice block down on top of this custom head. You could just use the piglin head though, if you want to keep it vanilla. But yeah, it looks like it's all nice. Naturally, our butcher's going to have some dry storage as well, and you can just use a variety of different vanilla blocks to create this with some tweaks to really sell it. Here we have some barrels with a variety of different lids. Here we've also used a beehive to similar effect. Now you'll notice I have a bunch of different lids here. There is a reason why. This one, very basic. That is just a barrel with a plate on top. Boom, done. This one is a barrel with a plate with an item frame with a block in it. Now, same thing here. These look great. They really do until your buddy comes by and he steps on it. Nobody wants to look at this buggy mess. Now, you could sit here and break it and replace it every time somebody does that. Or, if you have the ability, just use an invisible item frame. It does not make a difference. It will not change the way it looks. You won't end up with this. I would consider a bookshelf or two for recipe books. Of course, we want some pots, some of the new pots to make it look like maybe we're storing something, dried herbs or something in there to season meats with. Barrels, chests, a variety of those things. These backs of the bookshelves can look like crates. So can the beehives and stuff. You can also make your own custom barrels using the spruce trapdoors. I like to fill them with a variety of different things. We have some concrete powders here to look like maybe some dry rubs or salts. Here I have what looks like a barrel that's really, really low on whatever this herb or whatever could be. Here it's nice and full. Just a note about this one. I've actually used an azalea bush here. You could use a moss block. It does look really, really similar. I don't know. I like the texture of the azalea a little bit better. It kind of looks to me like somebody's dug their hand in there to get some of it out. Another good way to add some depth to these barrels is to use snow layers, because you can get just like a variety of different depths from a full barrel all the way down to, well, you could go all the way to one layer. It could be salt, flour, sugar, variety of different things that your butcher could be adding to his rubs and stuff, curing the meats. The butcher, of course, is going to need a proper chopping block inside the shop to get orders ready for his customers. Here I have a couple different options. I've made this one out of beehives. I think they look really nice on this setup. You can face them either way, like this or like this. I think they look nice like this because it kind of looks like a drawer maybe that you could open up. I've used invisible item frames again, just to make it look like it's sitting right on the chopping block. I will put that in the description as well, if anybody has forgotten that command. I have used invisible item frames again to make it look like everything's just sitting right on the counter here. I will include that command in the description, just to make it easy for everybody. I've thrown a grindstone in here just because we've got to keep our knives sharp, of course. And then I've used a bloody banner and a shield to make it look like maybe a rag or something to keep his surfaces clean. Over here, we just have another variation on the same kind of design. I've used some stairs for this end of the counter. I've used some barrels for this end of the counter. I faced them upside down so I get the bottom side of the barrel's surface. I really like the texture of that. I've used a regular item frame here just to show that it could look like a cutting board or something. But again, this is a chopping block, so it doesn't necessarily need to have a cutting board. It's kind of made for that, which why I've put this one in an invisible one again, just to show that. This one right here is kind of a more advanced looking one. I've included like a chute down here for wastes that can drop down there. You can also put a composter in this hole to kind of make it look like a basket. You could do it any which way you want, really. This one could be more of a customer-facing one. We still have this nice surface to work with. We have the chute for the waste to go down. And we have a nice display case down here that I have just pistoned the blocks over top of these armor stands to get the custom head and the piglin head in there. You don't have to, again, don't have to use this custom head. You could just use a piglin head. You know, let your imagination run wild. Lastly, for this, trying to keep it really simple, I've included this one. This is just as vanilla as it gets. It is just a couple of bookshelves to look like shelves at the workstation. We have our chopping block on top. We've used the items frame with the birch trap door trick. Remember, don't step on these because it will mess up the way it looks. I've included a crafting table here just because I think it does look like a nice workstation in and of itself. You have the surface on top. You have the tools hanging off the side of it. So it kind of looks like this is a fully equipped but very vanilla friendly chopping block. And last but not least, we have this kind of back of the house design. This one is really more for like the guys in the back doing like big orders and stuff. We have the bandsaw from earlier hooked up to the side of it here. I've used the piston trick to make some nice table legs. I just think these look better than stairs, slabs, or whatever. I just prefer the look of it. I've used some invisible item frames. Consider spider eyes. They make a nice little chunk of meat. Your guys in the back will be working hard, but they'll be able to get it done with this beauty right here. The devil's in the details, as they say, so make sure you're using all the little tips and tricks that you can to your advantage. Here I have some banners set up that would be good additions. These look like butcher knives, got a bloody butcher knife. I found all these on Planet Minecraft. They're really easy to make, though. You can just look those up. I'll include a link to these in the description if you guys want to use any of these ones, just quick and easy ones. Don't forget you can put those item frames on the walls as well. Here I've made a couple different knife holders. This one, super vanilla friendly, just an item frame. We're using a blackstone button here, and then you stick the sword in there. You flip it upside down, kind of looks like a knife, kind of hides the hilt so you really can't see it. You can absolutely do this trick with the invisible item frame, which I personally prefer the look of, although the vanilla looks great too. My last tip, guys, is just to make sure you're paying attention to all facets of your build, including the floors, the walls, and everything when you're trying to add in those little details that really bring it to life. Now, you see, guys, you can take all these ideas and put them all together to spice up your Minecraft Villager's Butcher Shop, just like I've done here by putting together this lovely little market stall. I've tried to include a bunch of different tips that I've used in this video to make this neat setup. Well, there you go, guys. That should give you everything you need to spice up your Minecraft Villager's Butcher Shop. If you guys found this video helpful, please consider dropping it a like and subscribe, as that really helps out the channel. Alright, guys, I will see you next time. Bye-bye!